Hi, everybody. It's so great to be with you again for the latest episode of Get on the Grid with Chessie Roberts. My guest tonight is, I hope I say your name right, Karin Chesley. And she and I would like for you to join with us in aligning with the energies of co-creation so that this show gives you the best information to your highest good and best outcome. Welcome, Karin. It's wonderful to have you with me.
Hi, Chessie. It's great to connect.
Cool. For those of you who may not know Karin, she has an MA, and she's been a body, mind, spirit counselor, teacher, and coach for over 20 years. She's excited to now be leading a new annual body, mind, spirit journey to Lourdes. This is in France, right?
Absolutely.
And this is, we'll talk more about it for those of you who aren't familiar with it, but I'm really excited to have somebody who's been there on the show. This is one of the world's greatest sacred sites. And while there, she coaches her group about how to experience the profound healing energy more deeply. It's a week of spectacular evening torchlight processions, delicious French cuisine, the holy baths in the water. It's great excursions. And she'll give you the information, and I'll post it so that you can go to her site and look at hundreds of pictures and videos and all of that about Lourdes and what's going on there. So tell us a little bit about Lourdes. Some people may not know what we're talking about here.
Well, you know, the first time I heard about Lourdes, it was when I was a little kid in Catholic schools, and I haven't really given it much thought since then. But what happened was it was the middle of the night. It was the night after my oncologist said, you're not going to die from your extremely rare cancer that you were suddenly diagnosed with.
Well,
and
that's good news.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. So it's like, okay, time to make some fresh new plans for my life, because before that it was like not sure which way it's going to go. So it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I experienced this tremendous bolt of white light, and I saw a vision of Mary, and I heard, you're leading journeys to Lourdes. And I just flew out of bed. I'm like, what? Lourdes, where is Lourdes? I saw the movie as a kid. So I ran to my computer, and I start Googling Lourdes. I'm like, okay, it's got to be either Spain or Italy, somewhere around there. And all I can do is find pictures of Madonna's daughter. Apparently her name is Lourdes. So I was like, what was that girl's name? It's like,
Lourdes.
Oh, Bernadette. Yeah, so I typed Lourdes Bernadette. I'm like, oh, it's in France. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like in the southwest corner of France near the Spanish border at the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains. And then I'm like, okay, now what was this story about again? So I kind of refreshed my memory. And basically, Bernadette Subaru, she was a 14-year-old girl who came from a poor family in this area. And one day she was out gathering some wood with her sister Toinette and her friend Jean when she felt a sudden gust of wind. And as she looked up towards a grotto area, she saw what she described as a beautiful lady. You remember that part growing up as a kid, right, Chessie?
Oh, absolutely. I watched the movie until it just wouldn't play anymore.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, I hadn't seen the movie for decades. And so I kept reading, and I remembered, the story goes, she came back a couple of days later, and the beautiful lady appeared again, and this time she asked to return for 2 more weeks. And then from there, a lot of drama unfolded because many of the villagers would go with her to the grotto, and the parish priest Peyramal and the town prosecutor Giacomo thought she was lying about the whole thing, and they just wanted to shut this whole thing down. But things got worse for these guys when this beautiful lady told Bernadette to dig in the ground, and a spring popped up. And Bernadette was told to have the people come and drink the water and bathe in it. And so the people came, and soon many were experiencing miracle cures. And then from there, word spread, and hundreds of people started to come from all over, which infuriated these guys even more. But eventually, it's like amazing. You could see that happening today. It's like, yeah, right. Who put you up to this? What are you after here? You're from a poor family. What are you getting out of this? Yeah. So finally, the parish priest was convinced it was real, but only when he told Bernadette to ask the lady what her name was. So she did, and told the priest that the lady said she was the Immaculate Conception. And then he burst into tears because he knew that neither she or anyone in the village could have ever come up with that term, as the Vatican had only come up with that terminology 4 years prior. So from there, he supported and protected Bernadette, and he did what she said the lady had asked of him, to build a church and have people come in evening processions. And that's been going on for well over 150 years. And so here I am, leading this new annual journey to Lourdes for anybody that wants to come.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I did see the movie. Like I said, I watched it to death, and we were not Catholic. My mother was horrified when I came to her and said I wanted to be a nun.
Oh, my gosh.
She said, why do you want to do that? And I said, because I want to see St. Mary like Bernadette did. And she just kind of rolled her eyes and said, okay, fine. But, of course, I was like, 10 or 11 at the time. But I've always been, drawn to Lourdes because of the story and because of the healing and because of the sacredness of the space. And anybody who's listened to me talk about any of this knows that I'm a real big advocate of the higher vibrational energies and the more expanded vibrational energies that surround these sacred places. And they're all over the world. But this is the very first time on the show, Karin, you may not know this, that I have had someone who's actually been to the place and talked with me about it. So I think this is awesome. And I try to cover all different aspects of spirituality, but having explored the area, I think you have not to put anybody else's experiences in a darker light or a shallower pool, but it seems like being on the site would give you a deeper connection to whatever energetic healing or energetic spirituality that's going on there.
Well, I have to say you're amazing, Chessie, because you're so open and you're already like, wow, there must be something there. When I had that experience in the middle of the night, I'm like, Lourdes? Why do you want me to go to Lourdes when I can barely stand up? I'm still weak from chemo. What's there? Just a little museum? Oh, this is where the Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette. You cross it off your bucket list and then on to Paris or some other, great destination. I'm like, what on earth is in Lourdes that's so important that she wants me to go when I'm still so weak? But, that inner spark, because that whole vision came with a spark, like an intensity of light. And it wouldn't back down till I went. So I grabbed a couple people have gone on journeys with me before, and we went. I got there a little early, and I went to drink the water, and I was walking towards where the water spouts are. I was really blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something going on here. It was like the air. Yeah, it was like the air was thicker. I was like, whoa, what is this? And so I get to the water taps and I drink it. And I went into like this state of rapture, and I was just so blissed out. I'm like, oh my God, this is the real deal. I needed convincing.
Well, I love it when somebody goes into an event like this, a little on the skeptical side. I'm not one who just believes everything I hear and everything I see and everything I read. But when it zaps me like that, it will make a believer out of you. And it has done it to me. It has done it to other people that I've spoken with, and it just sort of takes away all the doubt, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because you can't deny your own experience. That's why I tell people it's like a destiny, life-transforming excursion, because you are having your own experience. You cannot deny what's happening to you there. It's tangible. You can feel the energy thicker. You can feel the impact of the water, and then they have the holy baths that you go into. So I'm just like, okay, I'm creating a group next time, and we are staying here longer, and we are swimming in the sea of heavenly light. There's very few places in the world you can go to experience something like this. And I'm like, anybody who wants to come can come. If you know the story, great. If you're Catholic, and I know all the different versions of Catholic, the born again, the recovering, the cafeteria, And a lot of Jewish people want to come. I'm like, you guys heard this story? They're like, yeah, we heard this story. We want to come too. So I don't affiliate myself with any religion, though I did go to Catholic schools for 13 years, so I know this story. And I've certainly gone on to experience many other religions. But I kind of go as a human potential coach. It's like, okay, I know what's going on with this water here, and I can feel this energy. When we're there, we're going to meet every evening together, and we're going to connect with this light for maximum results. And when we did that last time, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it sounds like it's an experience of spirituality, not of religion. And I find that extremely stirring and uplifting because I'm not an advocate of labels. I don't feel like we have to label what we are. We're human beings, and we are, what is it they say, we're spirits living a human existence, and this is a direct connect to that spirit in all of us, that soul piece of the divine that we all are. And we sort of get lost in our humanity over the years. We see ourselves as what we see in the mirror, and we're not that. We are that spark, as you called it, but I'm talking about the spark of the divine that's in us, and we call it a soul. And I think when the soul connects with the soul, and I mean the soul in the body connecting with the soul of the higher being, that's where that bliss and rapture comes from, wouldn't you say?
I say you're a very wise woman, Chessie. And my challenge has been, though I studied in an Indian ashram and I felt that high energy there, they call it the Shakti, my burning question for the last 20 years is, where is that high light that people can connect with on the Christian trail or the spiritual and not religious trail? And so when I went to Lourdes, I was like, oh, this is it. Because it is, you can feel that light of a sacred higher power. And the way I kind of describe it, for lack of a better way, we don't have the language in the English language here, or the English words in the language. I guess I get so high talking about Lourdes, you can feel I'm kind of getting blissed out right now.
My guidance calls it clumsy human words, and we don't have them.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, Einstein said, E equals MC squared. Everything is energy. So every human being is an energy field. And let's say most of us are on, 1,000 watts of energy. You go to Lourdes, where the energy there is 1 billion watts, and your soul is going to raise up. A lot's going to happen. You're going to drink in that vibration. It's going to raise up. It's going to raise you up. It's like your soul can get, it's like there's a soul quench in people's, listen to me. I can't talk straight when I start talking about words. I get so high. But that's just a testament to what goes on, because I'm already bringing in the energy, and it's like you get drunk, you get ecstatic there. But what I'm trying to say is deep in people's souls, there's just a thirst, a hunger for something, and they're not sure what. And it's really for this light, this divine light. And so when you go to a place like that, something deep within you just gets so fed, and it gets, this thirst just gets quenched. And it's the impact of the healing energy there. It's not like you are swimming in the sea of heaven and light, but there's something else going on. It can ignite your dormant potential. It can send your heart, soul, and wise voice within, soaring to permanent new heights. When people were there, so many of them felt this profound quantum leap in their connection with their wise voice within, so that they could really hear their soul's guidance directing them as to what course to take in their life. And if they were healers or counselors, they were more effective with their people because they could really feel the other person's soul connection. And it's known for physical healing, and it also kind of eases emotional and physical aches and pains as well. There was a woman there who had a cyst on her face, and after she left, it was gone. My headaches from my whole cancer excursion got so much better. And I wasn't expecting any of that. And so people were just walking around with their jaws dropped like, we can't believe this. We can't believe this. This is like, are you kidding me?
I'm always telling my students and clients to reconnect to nature, because of the frequency and the vibrations and everything is the one. When we reconnect to nature, we reconnect to our nature. In the disconnect in the modern world is huge. We don't walk on the ground barefooted anymore. We don't hug trees. We get looked at funny when we hug trees. But that earth connection, that basic connection to nature, I think is necessary for all of this to occur. And when it happens at a space that is so charged with this divine frequency, I guess you could call it, you're going to have a huge experience. It's really going to zap you, and I think that's why we have these places all over the world. They're in Arizona, they're in Japan, they're in England, they're everywhere. And the blessing, I guess is a good word for it, to go there and stand there and touch that is just amazing to me.
Yeah, there's something about making the journey. There's something about setting aside the time and saving the money and just really being there for a long period of time and really connecting that just makes everything just extraordinary. And another thing I love about Lourdes is it is just surrounded by spectacular natural beauty, like you were saying, being in nature. So when we're not drinking the water and going in the baths and feeling that high energy, I've created so many really great excursions to really be in nature. Like they have this 8-minute funicular ride up this mountain where you get spectacular views of the countryside, of the Pyrenees Mountains, of the village of Lourdes, and there's hiking trails up there and a nice little restaurant. And so in nature, the vibration is higher. So it's about going out and seeing some of the stunning beauty around Lourdes as well. And they have this beautiful medieval castle right at the base of the sanctuary, basically. And it's incredible. So we go up there and have a look, and then we kind of hike all around the town, and we go on we go to all the places that were important in Bernadette's life, like where she grew up and the cachot where she lived and where she was baptized. And Lourdes also has this great covered market where they have these little Pyrenees treasures. So it's also a cultural experience. It's got everything. And then to walk to Bartres, where she lived for a while, and you're kind of weaving in and out of cow fields, rolling hills. It's just such a magical area. It's just it blows me away. I cannot wait to go every year. It's like sets my soul on fire. It's just beautiful in every way you can imagine. And the French cuisine, love it.
I used to live in French Morocco, and the first French cuisine I ever encountered was escargot, which is snails to the uninitiated. And I fell in love with them. And my children wanted to know about snails because I always told them about snails after they came along. So my mother came to visit us, and the children wanted her to fix some snails. So she went to the gourmet market, and she bought the snails, and she brought them home, and she fixed them, but she cooked them in the microwave. If you ever want to fix snails, don't cook them in the microwave. They vulcanize. It's like trying to eat a rubber band. It was awful.
Oh, dear. Oh, my gosh.
I'm sure they do a much better job than that. But as you were talking about getting ready and setting your intention, and that's huge, and getting your money together and pulling together, getting to the place, what came to me is that really brings you into focus with yourself. And a lot of my longtime listeners know that I'm big about being in the now, not worrying about what happened or what's going to happen, but being right in that moment. And it sounds like that intention and that pulling together really pulls you into your now so that you're laser focused on that by the time you get there. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I tell you, the minute people sign up for Lourdes, it's like an inner alchemy starts to happen. It's like the higher
alchemy.
Yeah, and the whole time we're in Lourdes, the inner alchemy happens. I say it starts when you sign up and you're really going to go, or when you make the intention to go and start saving some money. You will start to draw in that light or drink it in, and it will really start to work on you. And the greatest things that can happen is when you can deepen that connection with your wise voice within and a higher power, and also really move in the direction of awakening more of your dormant potential and your gifts so that you can really move forward on what it is you're meant to be doing and get very, very clear, here on Earth. And this is a place where that can really, really help that process.
Well,
and,
I'm wondering if we can speak to that for just a minute, that dormant potential that we aren't aware of. I think we all have it in some degree, and we're all aware of it to some degree, would you say?
I would say definitely, but everyone's frustration is like, well, I can feel something in me. I don't know how to access it. I don't know how to awaken it. Now, in the Indian tradition, it's called, they give you an energy transmission. It's called Shakti Pas. It's awakening of the dormant potential within your, within your being.
Awesome. It feels awesome.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but the thing here is like, okay, well, I studied with an Indian sage in an ashram for 4 years. I had that awakening, and my whole life completely changed for the better, and I was aware of a lot of abilities that I felt I had but didn't know how to access. But when you try to explain this to people who are anti-Indian sages, you know, it's really impossible. So my burning question, kind of like I said before, was, well, how can I explain this, you know, to people on the Christian trail, or, you know, just people who don't really understand the full impact of what can happen, you know, with an Indian sage or guru. And so when I went to Lourdes and I experienced what I call Shakti Pas, I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. But the only words I can really use to describe it, it awakens your dormant potential. But here's another way. You could probably get this. It's kind of like, you know, when you have a remote control and you want to turn your TV on, you press a button and there's this energetic current that turns the TV on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what happens in Lourdes. It's like concentrated energy. And in the grotto, or somewhere between in the grotto and drinking water in the bath, there's an energetic transmission that awakens that potential. I think the Christian terms or Catholic terms might call it the descent of the Holy Spirit. I'm not quite sure. I just know what's going on there. And this is why I'm leading people there every year for the rest of my entire life, because when you can get that energy transmission, your life's going to change for the better. And in my past, you know, as you said before, I was a special education teacher. I've been a counselor for 20 years. I've seen people in pain and suffering, just really good people, you know, and they're just carrying this around. They don't know what to do with it. And Lourdes is just a place where the light just really wraps you in a cocoon, takes it away, ignites you, and off you go. Doesn't get better than that.
As you're talking, I'm getting all kind of analogies. One of my favorites is the potential within, like in an acorn. You look at the acorn, and it looks pretty simple. You just look at it, and it's this funny-looking little nut thing. But if you put it in the ground and nurture it and feed it, out of that potential, things start to happen. It puts down a root. It puts up a shoot. Next thing you know, you've got this big, beautiful oak tree. And we all have that latent potential. That was the word I was looking for, within us. We just have to allow it. And my favorite word this month is allow. Allow it to come forth and allow your guidance to show you the way to go. And the other thing that popped into my head is the transformation that happens with a butterfly. When the caterpillar goes into that cocoon, I was totally unaware of this. So when I looked it up for research for an article I was doing, I was kind of blown away. The caterpillar absolutely and actually dissolves into a puddle of yuck in that cocoon. And that's how the potential for the butterfly is awakened from this energy in the caterpillar. And we sort of go through that, I think, when we have these spontaneous and wonderful spiritual awakenings. There's a second or two when we are completely and totally malleable. We are the puddle. And this wonderful divine energy comes in and recreates us in I'll say a new image or a more effective image, or however you want to look at it. But that's what this feels like to me as we're talking about it.
Well, that's a beautiful analogy, and I use that one often, and it just really describes exactly what goes on. And, whatever you can do to get yourself in a position where you can experience that high energy and that high light, make it, just kind of make it number one on your bucket list, because your life will change. It cannot stay the same.
Now, let me ask you kind of a feet to the fire question here, Karin. Do you have to go to one of these sacred sites for this to happen, do you think?
What I put on my website, Lourdes has this great thing where you can actually go into the grotto live via video. It's a live video streaming from Lourdes. And so I put that on my website because a lot of people might want to go to Lourdes, but it's just not time. They can't go. Maybe 10, 20 years down the road they can, or it's not practical for a lot of people. Some people will really feel that call and spark to go, and they will not feel any peace whatsoever until they make plans to go. So Not everyone can, and maybe not everyone's meant to, but a lot of people will feel called. So what I did was I put this link on my website, and all you have to do is press the button, and it will bring you right into the grotto live. And that's where a lot of that miraculous healing energy is radiating from. Now, some people go in there, and they can just feel this beautiful light washing over them, and they are blown away. So I tell everyone evening time is best, because that's when things are quieter in Lourdes, because right now Lourdes is under construction, so you might see like bulldozers in front of the grotto, or sometimes they do a mass because it's in season now. But just go there in the evening when it's quieter and let it wash over you. And if you don't feel anything, that's okay too. Just kind of sit there quietly. It's happening. It's getting in. Now, those that are on a path who have meditated for a while or on a path of personal growth are more apt to feel it, because they shedded so many of the protective layers that a lot of people put around them in today's society and culture to protect their hearts. So those people might feel it more, but it doesn't mean it's not getting in. So I definitely put that up there. And, yeah, anything can happen. You could get that transmission through the grotto, through the video. I don't call a shot.
And I went to your website and looked at several of these videos and pictures and everything, and I could feel the power emanating through it. But I do a lot of energy work through the computer on Skype, and so I figured, well, maybe it's just me. But I feel like that, like you said, if people are on that path, they can pick something up. I will also tell you that one of your videos is not working.
Oh, no. You know what I think it is? I think sometimes when people press on it all at the same time, it shuts down. But then it seems to go up again. But I'll go in and have a look.
Yeah,
I've just been letting a lot of people know.
It was a big main one I wanted to see, and it's got like a broken link icon in there. So you might want to check that out, because once people hear this, they're all going to want to go look.
Just don't all look at the same time, folks, because that's what makes it shut down. So if it's not working today, check tomorrow, the next day. I'll be watching it every day and just reloading it if that happens. But
okay, very good.
I'm on it, Chessie. Thank you for letting me know.
I thought you might be. I think it's wonderful that these places exist in the world. And like you said, in the movie, for those of you who haven't seen it, Bernadette and her family were really persecuted because of what she was saying she was seeing. But she stuck to her guns. She didn't back down. She didn't waver. She kept saying, yes, I see the lady, and yes, I hear what she's saying. And even though people were telling her she was crazy, and even though people were telling her she was out of her mind, and they shunned the family for a while, they treated them abysmally, she stuck with it because she had that faith in herself and the faith in the lady that she was seeing. And I think that's kind of a wonderful thing, because a lot of us get caught up in what other people say about us, what other people think about what we're doing. Well, I can't do that because my neighbors will see me and they'll think I'm weird. Well, I've sort of developed the divine don't give a darn.
Love it.
And if guidance tells me that it's something that I should do, even though I get the funny looks, I go ahead and do it anyway. And I may not be very blatant or flamboyant about it, because I don't want any negative stuff. I don't deal with it well. It's counterproductive, I think. But I think what I'm trying to say in my fumbly-bumbly way here is, if you have a conviction in your heart, go ahead and have the courage of that conviction to do what you feel you need to do to satisfy your spiritual growth, because this is a special time that we're living in. We're living in a time of awakening, a time of wonderful things happening if we just let them flow through us. There's that word allow again. If we allow it to be what it is. Allow others to be what they are. You don't have to teach the whole world. A friend of mine says, it's not my job to wake up the world, it's just my job to wake me up. And if you wake yourself up and you touch this awesome energy and you connect to it and you learn, then you can share, like what Karin's doing here with me today and what all of my guests do every time I talk to somebody on the show. They're sharing their spiritual grid. They're sharing with you what they do. It doesn't mean you have to do it. It's just another way to experience this wonderful spiritual connection. And so I think any way we can find to do that, that we can use, and you don't have to use just one. Use all of them that work for you. It's
yeah,
like
that is so great.
The Shakti Pas and the grace of the Holy Spirit. It's basically the same thing. It just has a different name, and that's okay. It's that clumsy human words thing again.
Yeah, it's so great you brought up that point, because so many people remain, they stay shackled because their family shuts them down, their circle of friends shuts them down, their neighborhood, their culture, what they believe in, everything around them shuts them down. So they're, what Thoreau says, they're living quiet lives of desperation. They're very good students of teachings that are shutting them down. And so sometimes I think the greatest thing as a counselor you can do is just get out from underneath these systems, your system of friends and family and the culture and society, which says, do it our way, this is how it's supposed to be done. Meanwhile, you're dying on the inside. But let me tell you, when you do break away from these friends that are kind of holding you in that bondage, a whole new set of friends will pop up. Don't think you're going to be all alone. You might be for a while. It's like, okay, let me just change the type of friendship I have with these people, from best friends
changing the channel.
Yeah, to just good friends, and then eventually put them on your Christmas card list. In the meantime, when you are in these other places, you'll meet new people that are more kindred spirits and supportive and helpful. Many years ago, that was my greatest obstacle. It's like, well, I can't. I'll just get, kicked in the face and ridiculed by these people or taunted. After a while, it's like, I really don't care, because I really don't want to live anymore. It's like, it's just dry, it's spiritually empty, it's awful. And so I made that bold move, and I started on another path, and it just fed my soul. And now I think the greatest goal of any path is to really listen to that wise voice within and a higher power, and to set yourself free. And so any pilgrimage that can help that, help create that is great. Any path or any counselor or any group, anything you can do to set yourself free, that's what your life's really about. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Chessie. It's so important.
Thank you. I firmly believe that we have to feed our soul. If your life feels like you're stifled and empty and you're not going anywhere, it's because you're out of balance in your body, mind, spirit trifecta. Triquetra, whatever you want to call it. And you need to remember that your body needs to be healthy. Yes, it does. You need to exercise and eat right and all that kind of good stuff. Your mind needs to be fed by uplifting and positive things. Most of the drivel that's on television now is, I think it calcifies the entire brain. We get caught up in the nasticity, to coin a phrase from an old friend of mine, of things going on around us. If we get caught up in that, it drags us down. And by the same token, if you don't feed your soul somehow, some people go to church every Sunday, some people go walk in the woods, some people bathe at Lourdes, some people talk to friends who are of like mind and like spirit. Just however you feed your soul so that you can keep everything in balance. When things get out of balance, it's like trying to drive a car with square wheels. It just doesn't work well. So I completely agree with what you said, yeah.
Yeah, you can just really spiral down. But in Lourdes, it's just a bunch of kindred spirits. You're meeting people from all over the United States and Europe. We all get together, and it's just everyone supporting each other and everybody experiencing the water and the baths and the beauty together. And that's what I like about my group. It's international. It's multi-faith. I'm not going affiliated with any religion. I'm just kind of going as a human potential coach. I want to see everyone rise up a few notches. I want to see you connect with your wise voice within. I want to align you and help coach you to really attune to what it is you're meant to be doing here on earth. Because once you can get that, once you're in touch with that, life's a game changer. I want everyone to experience that fire in their souls. And so that's really why I bring people to Lourdes, and that's what I coach people. That's how I coach people every evening when we get together. And let's move off the shackles. What's blocking you from hearing that wise voice within? Because a lot of people are like, well, I hear a voice. Is it my voice? Is it someone else's voice? Is it the voice that I'm just making up? What is what? So we start to, in Lourdes, and when you're basking in that healing energy, you can just start to clear a lot of that out. So that's what I love about Lourdes. And I love the people that come. Everyone is just so eager and willing, and they want to experience it, and they want to be free. So it's just a really nice camaraderie of kindred spirits.
I got that from the videos while I was watching. The looks on people's faces, they're at peace. They aren't there angry. They aren't there frustrated about anything. They're there in a peaceful place, and it radiated off of each and every one of them through the video that I watched. It was just amazing. And I love to be in contact with people who are, as you put it, blissed out. It's easier to be in that, I'm going to call it a higher vibrational company, just because I don't know what else to say about it. But it feels connected. It feels peaceful. It feels good. It feels light. You know, it's wonderful. And I wasn't even standing in line. I was just watching the videos.
Yeah, and you can't cue people to do that. You know?
No, you can't.
That's what happens at Lourdes. It awakens that inner radiance, and people really just glow, and they take that glow home with them. And another one of my favorite parts in Lourdes is, you know, the evening processions. It's not just hundreds, if not thousands sometimes, of people with their torchlights lit, you know, just walking around under the Pyrenees stars. It's just so magical, singing Ave Maria. There's a real powerful energy current that goes on there. And the minute our group actually has a name, it's called the Spark. It's a new registered group, international group. So before the procession, they announce all the different, you know, groups that have come from around the world. And when they said, and the Spark, you know, group is here, everyone just felt like electricity, like divine electricity just running from them. And we were
I heard a woo-hoo when he said that.
Sorry, that was me.
I knew it was.
I tell people all the time, please have compassion for my over-the-top enthusiasm about Lourdes.
Well, I find it refreshing. I like it.
Yeah, I just see what happens to people, and I'm just awestruck. So I'm like, my God, I can't believe this is going on here. So, it's like swimming in the sea of heavenly light, and there's this electric divine current just going through your body, and you're singing, and you're walking around under the stars. And the best part is kind of at the end, I get my group to go up to the top of the basilica, and you're looking down, and you're seeing all these torch lights, and you're looking up, and you're seeing Lourdes Castle, and you're seeing the top of the Pic du Jour, and just like thousands of lanterns around, and it's like heaven. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world.
It sounds awesome. I think I'm going to have to set my intention to go with you.
Well, you know, it's like if you were to go, Chessie, just write down your name, the lifetime you're in, where you live, and everything, because you're going to change so much you're going to forget. Like, who am I? Where do I live again? I mean, that's...
Well, I went to an ashram several years back that's kind of local to me, and I had that kind of an experience there. It was very, very, I don't want to say it was hard, but it was challenging to come back to my mundane everyday life after I had experienced that. They call it a mountaintop experience is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
But it's the same type of connection that you're talking about here, maybe not quite as intense. But for me, it was life-changing. It was life-affirming. And it turned a lot of stuff around, so I totally get what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about the video from Lourdes, because you can stay connected to that high Shakti. And you'll notice, like if you were to look at it now, like you said, you could feel the healing energy, but after you go to Lourdes and come back, you will feel it 1,000,000 times more strongly over the video. So it's nice to have that connection, because that's the hard part. You come home and it's like, okay, you're back to your life and you miss that high energy. You can feel that you can carry it with you, but your soul is craving more. It wants more of the light. So when you go to the video, you can drink some in every single evening, which is really, really nice. That's what I love about it.
One of the things that I have discovered about this spiritual awakening and this expanding of our frequencies and our understanding and all that sort of thing is that we do crave more. It's that we're connecting back to where we came from in the first place, and our soul actually recognizes that connection. And that's
the interesting part, because your soul is on fire. Your heart is beating out of your chest, and your mind is like, it does not make sense to go. This is ridiculous. I don't get it. And so it's like, what are you going to listen to? Your soul, which you're like, what is this thing in me going crazy, or my mind? You know?
Well, we've been taught, especially in the Western Hemisphere here, to intellectualize everything, think it through. You want pie charts and graphs to show you that it's really actually happening. And what Karin and I are talking about today is actually getting out of your intellect and into your heart and allowing that to guide you, not the intellect that you have learned to live with all of your life. Because
it's like you have to uneducate yourself to do that. And the other part of it, Chessie, is, you really need healthy skepticism. In today's world, there are so many fake gurus and charlatans, and it's like, who do you trust and not trust? But I tell you, your soul knows. When your heart starts beating out your chest, that's what you listen to.
That's kind of where I was going with that. It's that inner knowing that once you reconnect with the inner, you've had the inner knowing your whole life. It's just been, I'm going to say, beaten out of you with rules and regulations and all that kind of thing. And the village that raised you, they're trying to raise you right, but they're actually not helping you. But once you reconnect with that, you know it's the right place for you to be. And that's what I was getting at earlier.
I think that's the goal of everybody's life, just to re-anchor to that connection, move out all the blocks, all the obstacles, and really deepen your connection and trust with it. If you've got that, you've got everything. You don't need anything more, because it will just guide you to creating the life of your dreams and guide you to manifesting what it is you're here to manifest and doing what you're meant to be doing. And that's all anybody really wants. That's what's going to make people happy.
Before we sign off, I want to talk a little bit about allowing all this to occur. That seems to be one of the hardest challenges that my clientele tells me that they have, is the letting go of the old stuff and allowing the new stuff in. Have you got any words of wisdom for that for our listeners, Karin?
Letting go of the old. It's almost like taking a leap of faith. And so what I tell people to do is, if you can kind of start building that connection and trusting that inner connection, it's going to make it easier to take that leap of faith. And also surrounding yourself with good people who are talking like you're talking and living like you're living is like, find that other set of friends, watch shows on TV, listen to radio shows like Chelsea. It's all going to build up your wisdom and your faith and your trust. Because a lot of what you're talking about right now, it's kind of like shell shock to people. It's like, what? What are you talking about? That's just for special people. I'm nothing. It's for special people, We all think that. I know. I'm a counselor. I've been counseling people around the world for 20 years. Everyone thinks that, it's someone else who's special. I'm just me. I'm like, you've got that golden light inside you, like I'm talking about, like Chessie's talking about. And so make it your life quest to deepen that connection. And it's wisdom, it's books, it's movies, it's TV, it's radio shows, it's a pilgrimage, counselors, whatever it is, just connect with it. That's how I started. I started reading books quietly with a flashlight under my covers because I didn't want anyone to see me.
I tell my people too that if you're having feelings that make you sad or unhappy, that's not your higher self. That's your ego. And you need to tell your ego, I love you very much. You're part of my life. However, you need to sit down and be quiet now because I need to listen to better information. And once you can separate that ego dialogue, whatever, I guess it'd be a monologue, you're listening, and start having the dialogue with your higher self where you tell it what you need and it answers you in loving and affirmative terms, I think that's where the letting go starts, wouldn't you say?
That's a great place. I also call it, because the ego can be confusing to a lot of people, I call it your wounded self. Just a part of you, like you said before, that's just been so battered down by people, and you just got teachings that weren't supporting who you really are. It's just, kind of let it all go, which is hard because you're living in this environment where everyone's believing the old thing and kind of kicking you in the face if you dare share anything else. But, sometimes it's time to leave your neighborhood, leave the school you're in, leave the friends you're in. Sometimes that's the only way out. That's what I had to do when I started wakening up.
Yeah.
Just change your relationship with all of them. You don't necessarily have to leave. It's like, okay, when I connect with my family, we're just going to talk about the weather. I'm not telling you what I'm doing.
One of the things I've discovered is if you change your relationship with yourself first, the rest of it kind of cascades out. Yeah, people look at you funny, but who cares? But what happens spontaneously, and I think this is part of the life-affirming energy and the Shakti Pas and the Holy Spirit and all this that we've been talking about, is as you connect better with yourself, and you also connect better with your higher wisdom, with your higher voice. What did you call it? Your wise voice within. And when that starts to happen, a miraculous thing occurs. This cascades out from within, and the people who no longer serve you will leave. They just kind of drop away like the peeling an onion. You take the outside layer off and you're at the next one. And the more you grow, the more the things that no longer serve you and are no longer worthy of you leave your space. And the things that support you and build and help you grow come into your space and lift you higher.
Yeah, I've heard in the Indian, this path of self-realization, they call that self-effort and grace. It's like when you listen to that higher wisdom or wise voice within and you take one step forward, the grace will be right there to help you. It knows what's shackling you. It'll help move people out of your life and bring in new people. Whatever your soul needs, it will lead you right to it. It's just about you really daring to trust that inner voice that you've been conditioned not to trust.
Well, somebody told me that was a higher chakra frequency. What's my word? Not frequency. It's a higher chakra knowing that you start to trust that. But you can start accommodating that in little ways. I tell people it's a lot like eating an elephant. And for anybody who doesn't know how to do that, you do it one bite at a time. You don't have to change everything all at once. Change a little thing.
Yes, I agree completely.
And
if you look at
change another little thing.
Yes, it's like taking baby steps. Every day, take a baby step, and after a while, you'll cover 1,000,000 miles. But if you just look at the 1,000,000 miles, you won't even get started.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's like and I bring this up a lot, a child learning to walk. Have you ever watched a child learn to walk? How many times do they fall on their little bum, and how many times do they get up and keep going? And that's kind of where we are as we start this journey of awakening and reconnecting. We're learning to walk again. And then you realize you're learning how to think and you're learning how to feel all over again, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, that's a great example.
But don't try to do it all at once. It will intimidate you and you won't get anywhere. Overwhelm's not good, but that baby steps, that one bite at a time, that one thing at a time. And
that's where I started.
Yeah,
it was like, forget it. There's so much to do. Why even start? I remember thinking, I'm 25. I'm a quarter century old. I'm in my 50 now. So I'm like, what is the point? And it's like, you know what? I don't want to live like this either. So I just took one baby step every day. And it's like, oh, my God, I look back now and I have covered 1,000,000 miles. One baby step a day. That's where you start.
And this trip to Lourdes might be your first baby step for whoever's planning to go. And your first baby step there was the intention to go and the decision to go. And if you haven't seen that as a huge forward movement, I'm telling you right now, it is. And it's with all things. If you plan to go to Sedona, if you plan to go to Mount Fuji, any of the holy sites around the world, Lourdes is wonderful. They're all wonderful. But if you can get there, any way you can, even if it's through a video, read a book like Karin was saying, watch a movie about it, something that stirs that longing within you, and you'll find that you're drawn to the right places, you're drawn to the right people, and it's just an amazing, amazing trip.
Yeah, your soul knows what you need. So if anybody's drawn to listen to this show today, it just means there's something there for you in Lourdes, either via the video or there in person. Otherwise, you know, there are a million other things you could be doing today. So there's something there. And you're going to feel healing energy just from this conversation. Because remember before I could barely talk, I was getting drunk. It's like the healing energy comes in just when you talk about it sometimes.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, Karin, is there a salient point that you would like our listeners to take away with them so that they remember it and never forget it?
You know, I would just say the main thing is if you can really listen to your heart, empower your heart, connect with it, and follow its guidance and its wisdom. You know, that's the main thing in life. And anything you can do in this world to empower that connection and move off the shackles, that's the right path for you, because that's what everybody wants. And then everything will just fall into place. Your dormant potential will get ignited. You'll be in the right place for that. You'll meet the right soulmate coming into your life. You'll live in the right place. You'll know exactly what you're meant to be doing and what your life is about on this earth. And that's what everybody really wants. But all that knowledge it's in your heart. So anything you can do to listen and deepen that connection, it's going to serve you very well.
Thank you. I completely agree with what you said. And you were talking about dormant potential. I love that phraseology, dormant potential. Dormant is sleeping. It's there. You just have to wake it up. And potential is the ability to do whatever you want to do. And we're born with this. It's God-given. I don't care what faith base you are, what spiritual path you're on, what color your eyes are, what shoe size is. You have dormant potential.
Every single person does. There's not one person that does not have it.
And it's not just one thing either. People tell me all the time, oh, Chessie, you do so much. Well, it's because I've been led to do it. I didn't just wake up one day and said, okay, I'm going to have a 48-hour day packed in 12 hours. It just happened. But the cool thing about it is that once you allow it, and there's the word again, it happens spontaneously and organically, and it's not an issue. It's not a tribulation. I want to thank you, Karin, for being on the show today. Please give us your contact information, and don't worry if you miss what she says. It will be in the notes at the bottom of the posting when I put the show up. But just anybody wants to get a jump start on it, how can they get hold of you?
Best way is through the website. It's www.innerlightrising.com, and that's where you'll see hundreds of pics and the video, which I need to get fixed, and slideshows, and my email and my phone number. So that's really the best way. And I look forward to connecting or hearing from anybody who's heard this interview. It would be wonderful to hear from you.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you again, Karin, for being with us. Don't hang up. I'll talk to you some more after we stop the recording. But I want to thank all of our listeners for joining us here on the show today. And if you'd like to send in a question or suggestion for a topic that you would like covered on the show, please send your question, your suggestion, or your request to me at Chessie@ChessieRoberts.com. And you can find all of my information, programs, and all that sort of thing at ChessieRoberts.com. My music is at ArchersMeadow.com, and that's the stuff that I've written and I perform with my husband. And you've heard part of it at the beginning and the end of the show. So check us out and listen to us and let Reverb Nation know we're out there and that you like us. And my book is on Amazon.com. Just go on to Amazon and type my name in and I'll come up. Thank you all for listening. Please come back anytime to hear Get on the Grid with Chessie Roberts. Have a great week. Bright blessings. Bye.